welcome everyone to my new video on, as you see, how to build a gaming PC. Um, there's not much involved, and I think you'll be fine. The reason I actually built my own was for three reasons. One, the price versus pre-built was ridiculous. Two, I wanted to see if I could actually do it. And three, I tried to play the simple game Slender, and our computer at the time was laggy like you wouldn't believe. So, onward. Rule number one, don't be intimidated by building your first PC. There's very few parts involved with it, and if I can do it, anyone can do it. And I'll go into what parts are here shortly. When it comes down to it, there are basically 7 parts to a computer. Your case, your motherboard, your RAM, your CPU, which is central processing unit, your GPU, which is a graphical processing unit, your hard drive, and your PSU, or power supply unit. You also have your operating system, your keyboard, mouse, monitor, and sound. But I'm assuming that you have most of those outside of maybe the operating system at this point. The first part you're going to need is the case, and this all comes down to personal preference. You can go as bone stock as the picture you see here, or one that's coming up that has all kinds of see-through panels and lights and looks really futuristic. And about the only thing you really have to be concerned about is to make sure everything fits inside there, because some graphics cards can be wider than others, and when you shut it, it might not want to close. So there's 3 sizes you can get. There's mid tower, full tower, and micro tower. And it all depends on the size of the computer you have, and again with the space you want. And another thing to keep in mind is, and I can't stress this enough, is fans, fans, fans. You want to make sure it has tons of fans. You also want to make sure it has slots for you to be able to expand if you want to put other stuff in there at a later date, such as hard drives. And speaking of hard drives, that's the next part we're going to look at. There's not really much on hard drives here other than checking the ratings of people's happiness of what they bought. And the other thing is making sure you have enough space for what you want to do. For like a non-gamer, 500 gigs should be fine. But if you're a gamer, 1 terabyte is the minimum. I wouldn't even go that far. When I built our computer, I put a 500 gig in there, and I had to upgrade to 1 terabyte. There's also another option, which is an SSD drive, which is a solid state drive, which is pictured here. And it has no moving parts, and it loads up stuff super fast, but you're paying more for it. Most people have a hard drive like was pictured before and this SSD drive both in their computer. And more often than not, they put their operating system on the SSD drive, so if you have to format, you don't have to do the whole system. So this is definitely a good purchase to go for. Moving on to motherboards. When it comes to motherboards, the only thing you need to really focus on is how many PCI Express slots it has, which is what your graphics card hooks into, or I think even your sound card, if you decide to get one, uses. But most motherboards have onboard sound, which is adequate. But this motherboard is going to have you decide between 2 manufacturers, AMD and Intel, because these motherboards aren't interchangeable, and that's going to be your decision. Speaking of CPUs, that's what we're moving on to now. When you've made your choice for your motherboard, you're down to 2 manufacturers, Intel and AMD. But like I said, once you choose your motherboard, you're stuck with whatever you got. Both of them are good products. I choose AMD, others choose Intel. It all comes down to price and what you're looking for. AMD's cheaper, but from what I understand, they say that Intel's power consumption is less, so you're saving on the energy side. Now, what I'm saying for your motherboard, Intel uses a locking system like this, which is almost like a mouse trap. and it holds it inside that whole mechanism there. And I actually prefer that to AMD, but again, I stick with AMD. Whereas AMD has a system where you just lay it in that slot there and push down the arm, and it holds it in there. And in the coming picture, uh, a fan comes with every CPU you buy, and it goes on top of it. And even as such, AMD and Intel have different locking mechanisms for that, which I'm not going to go into, but just so you're aware. And when you're choosing your CPU, your best bet is to look at the newest games that come out, look at their specs, and see what they require. And again, buy over what their specifications are if you want to be able to use this in the future. The next step is buying your RAM. And for the most part, it's the cheapest part of the computer, as long as you buy something like this. Uh, your motherboard specifications will tell you how many pins and everything like that you need. So it's pretty much not hard to figure out what you need. But, you know, people buy the gaming RAM, and it's 3 times the price, but I'll get into that when I start showing it. Another thing is you need to look at, as I keep saying over and over again, look at the games that are coming out and see what you need and buy over that. When I built ours, I saw that the games required 2 gigabytes, so I bought 8. And now I'm seeing games coming out that require 8. So I'm going to be having an upgrade soon. So that's something to keep in mind. Now here's a picture of gaming RAM. And honestly, I have yet to see any studies or anything like that that say that you actually get a benefit for the price when you're buying this. They say it's supposed to make it run faster and everything, but like I said, I don't really think it's worth buying, especially when you're trying to work on a budget. So stay away from it if you can. Buying your graphics card is the next big step you got in your computer. It's going to take a lot of money. You're going to want to look around the $200 range or more if you're going to want to try to compete with the games. And again, you're going to want to look at what the games require and buy over it. And as far as graphics card goes, there's 2 companies that make them, AMD and Nvidia. And in saying that, you're going to be confused, because you're going to see an AMD R9 280, and it's going to be made by 4 different manufacturers for 4 different prices. It all depends on what they do with it and what add-ons they put on it. Now, as far as the difference between the two for like AMD and Nvidia, again, it comes down to price. AMD's cheaper and Nvidia is more expensive. And some say that Nvidia is better, but I have yet to really see anything myself because I stick with Nvidia. The only thing I can recommend is do not go with his brand, because I actually had one catch fire on my computer, literally. Your next purchase is going to be the power supply unit. Now, one thing I can tell you is don't do like I did, not listen to anybody. Don't cheap out on your power supply. My computer didn't work because I did that. They come into 3 separate ratings, and I believe it's gold, silver, and bronze, which gold's being the best. And there might actually be platinum too. It all comes down to energy rating and how much energy is actually consuming. But as far as figuring out how much you need for wattage, click on the link that I have there, or I'll put it in the description below, and you can go there, plug in everything you got, and they'll tell you exactly how much you need. Your next step is to buy a CD, DVD, or Blu-ray drive to put in your computer. I put a DVD drive in because we have Blu-ray players, but you can go with pretty much anything you want. The only thing is that DVD drives are so inexpensive, and there's not really much for you to actually go on and buy it. Just buy whatever you feel. But just so you know, a CD drive's like 20 bucks, and the Blu-ray is 60. So you might want to go a little future-proof with the Blu-ray possibly. Your operating system is the next thing you need to buy, and more often than not, you're probably going to go with Windows. Now for me, I went with Windows 7 even though Windows 8 was out, because I prefer Windows 7 over Windows 8. But I'm looking to go to 10 when it comes out. It's probably going to be the most easiest one for you to find stuff compatible with it, even with Steam products. But my suggestion is to go to that link I have there, and I'll put it in the description also below, because this site here sells Windows Legit, which is normally 160 bucks, for 56, and I've personally bought for them and it's been fine. Now another option you have is if you want to go to Linux, and I'm not sure how exactly you get it. I think it's free, I'm not sure, but it's more not as user friendly, but you can do more things to it. Now moving on to your keyboard. The sky's the limit with it, and it comes down to what your personal preference is. Honestly, you can get a bone stock one, or you can go with a version like we have that's actually backlit and has lights to light up the keyboard. Either way, it all comes down to personal preference of what you want it to look like. That's what our keyboard actually looks like. So yeah, it's all up to you. Again, with your mouse, it is an important device to have in your computer, but it all comes down to what your personal preference is for style. If you don't really care what it looks like, then go ahead and get the bone stock mic like that, or mouse like that. Or get the mouse, which exactly is this one, where it has all the fancy lights and everything, and helps for gaming, has extra buttons. But again, it's all up to you. Again, with the personal preference side, it comes down to sound. I personally use the headphones, but you also have the option to get speakers with all kind of bass and everything like that. Again, it all depends on what you want to use your computer for, but personally for gaming, headphones are the way to go, especially with the microphone included. The last thing you need to buy if you don't already have it is a monitor. And one way we found to get a better deal was to go up to Walmart or someplace that sells TVs and look at their regular TVs. And as long as it has a PC connection on the back, which some do, which is the blue connection for a monitor, you're good to go. We bought a 32-inch TV for our computer for 150 bucks, and you can't get a regular monitor for that price. So with that, I'm going to end this video. I hope everyone enjoyed this. I will see you in the next one. Be safe, and I will see you later.